Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott. I told you that periodically I'm going to dive into a few different type reviews because there are a lot of interest I have outside of just photography. One of those is fitness, and I do my best to keep in shape, to stay healthy for myself and for my family. And so in our house, we have in the basement, we do have a weight room. It's not a big space, as you can see, so I have to be very selective about what comes in here so it doesn't get too cluttered. We still have room to move around. I've been on a quest for years to find a functional treadmill that will fit in this space without making the room, non-functional. I've actually tried a few treadmills and had to discard them because they just didn't work inside this space and took up too much room. So when Yesoul reached out to me a month or so ago about the idea of reviewing actually one of their exercise bikes, I said, I don't really need a bike. I've got my nice road bike here on a high-end trainer, and so it's a great riding experience for the long winters around here. I don't really need that, but when I looked at their website, I saw that they did have a compact treadmill. So I said, can I review that instead? So here it is, and I'm going to be taking a look at this today, the T1M from the company Yesoul. Now, their whole kind of business model is that they are essentially a Peloton light company in that they have integrated exercise devices that have classes and all of those things that are incorporated into a 21.5-inch screen that goes on their various pieces of exercise equipment, including bikes, rowers, and treadmills. And so it is a subscription-based service, but not only does this treadmill cost about a quarter of what the equivalent Peloton unit would be, the monthly subscription is about a tenth of what Peloton's subscription is. And so if you're someone that is on a budget, this could be an interesting piece of equipment if it pans out to actually work. So we're going to dive into that today, first taking a look at the assembly process. So it arrived in a single box that was fairly manageable for getting downstairs. I ended up doing it myself because I didn't have help around at the moment. The box weighs about 110 pounds. So under normal circumstances, I recommend that you have somebody to carry it with you. All the necessary pieces and tools are in that single box. As tends to be the case with devices like this, I found the instructions to be so-so. And so how easy or hard the assembly is going to be really depends on how comfortable you are in following instructions that sometimes are a little bit vague in the process. Looking back over the process of my videos, assembly took me roughly 1 hour, which under the circumstances, I was sick and feeling terrible, and I just needed to get it set up and out of the way so people could use the exercise room. I didn't even use it initially because I felt so terrible. The fact that I got it done in an hour tells you that it certainly can be done. I had only one assembly challenge, and that is that one of the bolts, or the place where a bolt screwed into, was a bit cross-threaded, and so it took some work to actually get it seated in there properly and actually tighten it up. So that was a bit of a challenge, but not an insurmountable one. One tip I will tell you, because I did run into this, just kind of missed it in the instructions, you need to make sure to attach the sound bar to the screen before you try to put the screen actually onto the treadmill itself, because it has to be done in that order. So just a word to the wise, assembly certainly was doable, no major problems there. One of the main reasons why I was attracted to this particular treadmill was the fact that, number one, it goes into such a compact package and footprint here in my limited space workout room, but then also it is very, very easy to deploy when I actually want to use it. I set it into place. There is a red spot here, which I press on to release the deck, and will allow the deck to hydraulically begin to lower down. Obviously, because of where I'm storing it, I don't have it plugged in, so I plug it in.
Hello. Audio mode.
The screen will immediately come on. The deck, as you can see it, very slowly and carefully lowers itself down, and so there's no possibility of any damage. You step on and you're ready to go. So at the end of the workout, it's really just as simple. I'm doing all of that in reverse. I lift the deck up. It's not heavy. I unplug it. Using this, and I like to put a foot down there to help to lift it up. Just pop it up like that, use the built-in casters, move it back to my spot, as close to the wall as I want there, set it into place, and that's it. Now, the whole integration here works around the idea of using a mobile device. And so you're going to plug in with the included cable either by USB-C into your compatible device. Now, in this case, my iPhone 15, I was able to plug it in and it was literally plug and play. It mirrored on the screen using the whole screen. Audio was transmitted to the speakers and I could just go right away with it. I did note that if you're using an Android device, it needs to be DisplayPort compatible. So I was curious. I did have an old Android phone sitting around and curious to see if it would work here. When I plugged it in, it clearly was not DisplayPort compatible. However, I was instantly prompted by the Android platform to download the Miracast app that would allow me to then do the display. So I did that. It's a free app. You're gonna have to deal with some advertising as a part of it. However, it runs in the background and it does do a suitable imitation of the DisplayPort activity. It's not perfect. You're not gonna get 100% of the full screen, but it does fill most of the screen. There's some tweaks in the way that it works, but it does work. And so you're not gonna have to buy a new device, even if your Android device is not DisplayPort compatible. Obviously, it's more seamless if you are DisplayPort compatible. Now, one kind of side benefit of a mirroring type device is that it works with whatever content you have on your phone. And so if I wanted to work out while watching my own YouTube videos, I can do that for free without any kind of subscription. At the moment, I can even use it as my teleprompter for this review with my review notes on the screen here in front of me. And so it is very useful for those kinds of things. If you have an older Apple device that uses a lightning port, it does have a cable that will allow you to connect lightning to the USB-C as well. Now, if you want to take advantage of the classes as opposed to just having entertainment on your screen, you're going to need to download the Yesoul app. Now, that app can be downloaded for free, and there are a few classes that are available for free, but if you want the full-blown experience, you're going to want to get the subscription, which gives you access to far more classes, live events, and things like that. The app, there's a few options for how you're going to pay for it. And so you can do a monthly, a quarterly, and an annual subscription. As you probably guessed, the annual subscription is the cheapest. It's the option that I chose. And so it is about $69.99 for the year. So that averages out to about $5.80. However, the average Peloton subscription, according to my research, is about $50 a month. And so nearly 10 times as much. So again, if you're on a budget, that could be some savings there. Now, if you're in the app itself, you can choose whatever class that you want, and then it is going to project onto the screen. You have a nice slot down here to put your phone, and as the actual workout begins, it's going to give you some warning, but as you're going to see here, while the treadmill itself starts, it allows you to actually control the speed itself. The built-in sound is, as you can hear, it is moderately loud, certainly loud enough for while you're running, but it's not any kind of high-end sound bar. The instructors that I've watched so far, they have been engaging. They keep up a steady dialogue, trying to encourage you, a little bit of the motivational speeches that are thrown in there. Now you can see here, it'll tell you the goal that you need to establish for that period. It also gives you a countdown for how long it's going to take until the next segment. If you look at the status bar across the top, it is moving ahead as you go along, and it gives you a look at what segment is coming up next. Lower side of the screen here, it tells you your calories burned, your distance run. It comes by default in imperial measurement, though you can switch it to metric if you so desire. Another question that I had is that since I had actually signed up under the iOS App Store, is that when I hooked up the Android device, obviously I was going to have to re-download the app. Would my subscription carry across to multiple devices? The good news is that it's yes. I logged into my when I downloaded the app and I needed to log in, I logged into my account with Yesoul, and instantly I had the premium version there and was ready to go. So good news if you have multiple devices, and also good news is that your device will charge while you're connected to it, so you don't have to worry about your phone going dead. hopefully at the end of your workout, you're gonna have more charge than you started with. Now the controls, you have a bit of redundant controls here. Here on the right side, you have the controls for your speed, up and down. On the left side over here, you have start, stop. However, you've got nice big buttons here that I inadvertently hit that is going to stop you. Also, you have the opportunity to go right up to 5 miles an hour or 7 miles an hour if you want to run fast. So these allow you some quick control over that as opposed to slowly stepping up using the up and down for the speed here. Now if I put the microphone down near the deck itself, you can hear that the motor at 7 miles an hour, as we've got it set right here, is still fairly quiet. So there were some specifications that I was interested in that I suspect you might be interested in too. The motor itself is a brushless motor, and it is a 1 horsepower nominal and will go up to 1.5 horsepower on its peak moments. The maximum speed that you can achieve is pretty quick, 9 miles an hour. When you compare this to walking type pads that are, roughly in the price tag of this, you're obviously going to be able to go, nearly twice as fast on this. So that certainly is useful there. The maximum height they recommend is 6'4", and I can understand that. I'm 6'1", but I have really long legs, and so I did find that my stride, as I'll demonstrate in just a moment, my stride definitely, when I'm running all out, it fills this whole deck because the deck is, because it's compact, it is a little bit shorter than a standard one. I measured it at 46 inches. It's about 117 centimeters. That's about a foot shorter than a full-size treadmill. So just so you know, it's a little tighter in terms of width and in terms of length. And so again, if I wouldn't buy this, if you're a larger person that's going to fill that space up, you may just not find it comfortable for that. In fact, the maximum weight that they recommend for the deck is 220 pounds. Now the screen itself is 21.5 inches. It has a full HD or a 1920 type resolution here. The screen can be adjusted up and down, and so that you get a comfortable viewing angle depending on your height. And you can also rotate it out to the side, which can be useful because in the app, it's not just classes that can be done on the treadmill or a bike or a rower. They've also got yoga classes, strength training, stretching, things like that. And so you can still utilize this screen as a, and also even for entertainment if you're doing something else in an exercise room. And so it can be really useful if you don't already have a separate screen in your space. By the way, you can also use other apps like Zwift and KinoMap if you happen to have subscriptions to those as well. So what's my conclusion? Well, in the short term, I'm happy. It's a functional treadmill that fits in my small footprint. And unlike a walking pad, I can go all the way up to 9 miles an hour or ride over 14 kilometers per hour. And don't worry, I haven't threatened that speed so far. I think that the class and the entertainment integration will help keep up motivation even over those long winter months. And the cost ongoing is not too bad if you're doing the year subscription, under $6 a month. The big question with a device like this is how is it going to hold up? It comes with a 1-year warranty, but obviously in a 1-month review, I can't really answer questions about long-term reliability. I guess I'm going to find out, however, because right now it suits my needs, it fits in my space, so I'm going to keep on using it. The current price for the T1M Plus is right under $780 US. However, if you use the code Dustin10, you can get 10% off that price. As always, thanks for watching. Have a great day, and let the light in.